Good evening. 9 men were found guilty today of exploiting underage girls for sex. They lured the girls with fast food and taxi rides and gave them drugs and alcohol to stop them resisting. The victims were aged between 13 and 15. They were passed between the men, abused and raped by some of them. Stephen Douglas reports from Rochdale, where the sex ring operated.
They're men who groomed young girls for sex. A network of 8 British Pakistanis and an Afghan asylum seeker. Among them, taxi drivers and takeaway workers who flattered the girls with gifts and forced them to have sex in return.
These are the most vulnerable in our society, and they have been preyed upon by adults who should know better.
They targeted teenagers on the streets of Rochdale. All 5 were white and from troubled backgrounds. The youngest was 13. At just 15, this girl was one of the oldest. We've protected her identity.
We'd get free alcohol and cigarettes and food and free taxis and things. And at first I thought it were great. They start off nice and then they just change once they know they've got you.
This takeaway is where the abuse began. Tasty Bites is under new management, but it was here girls were first offered free food and taken to the rooms above. They're used for storage now, but this is where the lives of these children changed. After the men had befriended the girls, they would invite them upstairs. This is one of the rooms where they were plied with alcohol to get them drunk, and this is one of the rooms where they were sexually exploited. For some of the girls, it became a way of life.
We'd get in the car and then they'd drive us and we'd get to the place, a flat or a house, and then there'd just be different men there waiting. Towards the end it was like, it could be up to 5 different men in a day.
4 years ago she told police what was happening, but the Independent Police Complaints Commission is investigating why no one was charged. It meant she continued to be raped by a number of different men whose actions still haunt her.
I just think what they did to me was evil. They ripped away all my dignity and all my last bit of self-esteem, and by the end of it I had no emotion whatsoever because I was just used to being used and abused daily.
Outside court, far-right groups have held rallies. After attacks on some of the defendants' lawyers, 2 barristers withdrew from the case. Groups of white teenagers have also protested on the streets where the men abused the girls. It's left tension in the town, a town the girls have had to leave. Stephen Douglas, ITV News, Rochdale.
A spokeswoman for the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre said child sexual abuse spanned all cultures and ethnicities. But she claimed today's case highlighted the degree to which Asian men have been involved in the organised exploitation of girls. And this is reflected in figures obtained by our social affairs editor, Penny Marshall.
It's about time someone from the community came out and gave an inside view about what goes on.
You're listening to Imran, who's been so horrified by the underworld of sexual exploitation, he's agreed to talk about the crime. He's frightened of those involved, so we've protected his identity.
When boys get bored, they do drugs, they start drinking, they drive around in cars. Once they drive around in cars, they look for girls.
Imran told me those who do it are a small criminal element who target vulnerable girls.
Half the people who groom, they don't know what groom means. That's how stupid they are. What they'll say is, there's a bitch in the house, or there's a slag in the house, there's a whore, there's this, there's that, come down. So when they say that, they think, you know, what if she's in the house? She must be a slag. That's what they think.
It's white males acting alone who make up the vast majority of sex offenders. Group offending's an unusual feature of grooming. But analysis of 5 recent investigations involving groups of offenders acting together shows that of the 52 charged, 83% were Asian Pakistani, 11% Asian other, 6% white British.
This isn't unique to one group. However, yes, we've identified that there are patterns in which Pakistani men, Bangladeshi men, have been disproportionately involved in certain types of sexual abuse. And we're identifying what those factors are so that we can intervene.
Intervention means talking about an issue with the law-abiding citizens that some of them find difficult to discuss.
The older generation is more like keep in the closet, let's close it. You know, it's like, let's not air our dirty linen out. But I think the younger generation, they want to talk about these things. We want to express our feelings on that. This shouldn't be happening, and we're sick of it.
I want to show the people that, look, this isn't in our religion, this isn't in our culture, this is wrong. So it was prevention. That's what it was.
Although these groups of offenders are an emerging threat to the children they target on the streets of Britain, they are a fraction of the sexual exploitation cases involving children in the UK. Penny Marshall, ITV News.